tell you who we are. We have a legacy. A legacy that shaped us. A legacy that we've built. We united on this mother world. We rose together as the 7 tribes. One people forging our future. They came to destroy it. They tried to break us, divide us, to scatter the tribes. But we fought back. We rose as brothers and sisters, seizing victory from the vile chains we broke. And today we stand. We stand as the 7 tribes of Matar. We stand as Matar.
EVEOnline's massive player-driven markets are the lifeblood of New Eden. Learning how to navigate the market, buy the things you need for a fair price, and sell the goods you build or gather will give you the foundation to build a successful career in this vast universe. When it comes to the markets in EVE, location is key. You can only see items listed for sale in your current region, and if you buy an item from a particular station, you must go to that station to pick up your purchase. For example, if you list a ship for sale in the system of Jita, it cannot then be purchased by someone in Amar, as these 2 systems are in different regions. They would need to go to the appropriate region to purchase it, and then pick it up from the specific station in which the item was being sold. Because of this distributed nature of EVE markets, prices for an item may be very different depending on where you go to sell it. Trade hubs have naturally emerged, but many buy and sell orders are listed by players. Due to the high volume of trade at these trade hubs, they're a good place to go if you're trying to find a specific item, or just to ensure you're getting a fair price. The largest trade hub is in the system of Jita, the Caldari Navy Assembly Plant, located at Planet 4 Moon 4. Each of the 4 empires have trade hubs in their space, so you can always find one nearby if you're looking to make a shopping trip. You can open the market by clicking on the regional market icon in the Neocom panel on the left-hand side of your screen. This will open the regional market window, where you can view all items that are currently for sale in the region of space you're in. By using the drop-down menus or the search bar on the left side of the market screen, you can find items listed on the market, which you can then view in the panel on the right. Whenever you buy or sell an item on the market, you're interacting with another player. Players create buy and sell orders for items which form the foundation for the living market. To see the list of buy and sell orders for an item, click the View Details button. This will pull up the details screen where you can then see all the orders which are currently available for that item. Sell orders are items which people have listed for sale at a particular price, and buy orders indicate people looking to purchase an item at their asking price. If you want to sell an item in your inventory, you can right-click and choose View Market Details to see current orders for that item in your region. After viewing these orders, you can decide to sell it to one of the buy orders or list it as a sell order. Listing an item with a sell order can often make you a bit more profit. However, you need to wait until another player fulfills your order, which can take quite a bit of time depending on price, location, volume and other such factors. If you'd like to improve your chances of your sell order being fulfilled, it's generally recommended to make your sell orders at a trade hub and with a competitive price. Once you've decided, just right-click the item in your inventory and choose Sell this item. If you're happy to sell to the highest available buy order, you need only leave the duration set to immediate on the sell window and click Sell. If you'd instead like to list the item as a sell order, change the duration from immediate up to 3 months and set the price you'd like to sell your item for. Take notes of the taxes required to create the listing and of the number of remaining orders you can create, which can be seen in the lower left-hand side of the window. If everything looks good, click Sell to create your listing. If you're looking to buy an item, you can buy it immediately from one of the sell orders. Just right-click the order, choose Buy This and hit Buy. However, if you don't need an item right away and would like to try and get a better deal, you can instead create a buy order. From the Market Details view, click Place Buy Order at the bottom of the window. This will bring up the purchase screen where you can set your price, how many of the item you're looking to buy, and how long you'd like your order to last, up to 3 months. You can even change the range to allow you to buy items further away, but be warned that you'll need to travel around to pick them up individually if they're sold to you from another station. There is often a gap in price between buy and sell orders, and the savvy trader can use this to turn a profit, simply by buying low and selling high, using the difference between buy and sell orders. Market trading in this way can be profitable, but watch your taxes and broker fees, as updating your orders too often can eat into your profit margins. Now that you understand how buy and sell orders work on the EVE market, you're ready to start making trades, capitalize on great deals, and start turning a meaningful profit. Whatever it is you do in EVE, understanding how to use the market to your advantage will serve you well. If you're looking to take your PvE combat to the next level, look no further than Wormhole Space. Wormhole systems exist separately from the rest of New Eden, and the combat sites found there offer a unique challenge with tempting rewards. To find a wormhole combat site, you'll first need to find a wormhole system. These can be scanned down from almost anywhere in New Eden. Check out the Wormhole Basics video to find out more. In this tutorial, we'll be focusing on the type of wormhole with the easiest sites, a Class 1 system. Before you head out on your wormhole expedition, you need to prepare your ship. Even the easiest wormhole sites can be much harder than most missions, so you should fit up a combat battlecruiser to take them on. Take a look at the Fitting Your Ship video to learn how you can effectively design a fit for purpose. Do note that wormhole sleeper sites tend to have a lot of energy neutralizers, so be sure your ship is able to comfortably maintain its capacitor. If you're flying solo, you may want to consider fitting a core probe launcher with a set of core scanner probes just in case. This will help ensure that you always have a way out if your entry wormhole collapses. Another option is to bring a mobile depot, which you can anchor and use in space to refit a probe launcher onto your ship from the cargo. You should also consider picking up a mobile tractor unit to collect wrecks. More on that later. Once your battlecruiser is ready for action, you can head back to the wormhole you found earlier. Steel yourself and jump in. Now that you're in wormhole space, you should see a selection of green anomalies in your probe scanner. Many of these will be combat sites that you can warp to. Pick one and warp to it.
Warp drive active.
As you land in the combat site, you'll encounter a small number of hostile NPCs. These are sleeper drones, and you'll find them much tougher than the pirates you're used to. Lock them up and start firing. This is a good time to drop your mobile tractor unit and bookmark it. It will collect loot for you whilst you focus on surviving. Remember that PvP is allowed in wormhole space, so you should be on the lookout for hostile players too. Sleeper drones work on a trigger system for spawning the next wave of combat ships. Killing the last of the trigger ships will spawn more NPCs until you complete the site. You can find out which ships are the trigger through experience or by checking resources created by Capsuleers Online. Once you've cleared out the sleeper infestation, head to your mobile tractor unit and take a look at the unique loot inside. It will have collected valuable sleeper artifacts known to most capsuleers as blue loot. Collect your spoils and don't forget to scoop up your tractor unit. Congratulations on completing your first wormhole combat site. What you do now is up to you. Salvaging sleeper wrecks can be very profitable and will help you extract more value out of each site. You might also want to head back to your high-sec wormhole bookmark to secure your loot away from the clutches of hostile capsuleers. To profit from your blue loot, you need to sell it on the market. Fortunately, there are NPC buy orders available in systems across New Eden. To find one, look for the highest value buy order and head to that station to sell your loot. NPC buy orders will also be set for a flat amount, such as the Sleeper Data Library, which sells for 500,000 ISK each. Now that you're prepared to take on wormhole sites, you're ready to get into some of the most rewarding PvE content there is. Get out there and test yourself in the depths of wormhole space.
Bringing the right tools to a fight is key to winning. Whether you're setting out on your next mission or diving into the unknowns of wormhole space, fitting your ship well is the best way to help ensure success. In this video, you'll learn about the fitting process and how you can design a ship to take on any challenge. The first step to fitting for purpose is to pick the right ship for the task. When taking on missions, for example, you can start level 1 missions with just a Tech 1 frigate. As you progress to level 2 missions, you should look to upgrading to a destroyer. Level 3 missions usually require at least a Tech 1 cruiser, and level 4s are much more difficult, requiring the use of a battleship. When picking your ship, sometimes referred to as your hull, take note of the ship bonuses seen in the Show Info window in the Traits tab. Using modules to match these bonuses is the best way to make sure that you're getting the most out of your fit. You can get further clues about how to best fit the ship by hovering over the ship characteristics icon in the top of the window. When you're ready to start fitting, it can be useful to begin with a simulated fit. To enter fitting simulation, first open the fitting window, then click on the simulate button in the top right. This will show a holographic image of your ship and a list of modules on the left-hand side. Any changes you make now will not apply to your actual ship, allowing you to freely try out different options without having to buy all the modules first. You can even use the Hulls and Fits menu to create fits for ships you don't yet own, save your fits for future use, or browse a selection of community-created fittings. With your ship hull selected, you can now start adding modules to see how it performs. You can browse modules on the left-hand panel and click Show Info to get an idea of what they all do. Each module you add will take up some of the ship's power grid and processing power. These are represented on the lower right. Modules exceeding your power grid or CPU will be offline and unable to be used. You can also see a breakdown of the ship's stats in the panel on the right. Theory crafting and fitting for PvE is a balancing act between 4 main pillars. As you improve one aspect of the fit, you will probably need to make sacrifices in other areas to make it work. The 4 pillars to balance any successful fit are the amount of damage per second, or DPS, that your ship can apply on target, your tank, meaning how much incoming damage your ship can survive, your mobility, how quickly you can move around in space, and finally, your capacitor, the energy your ship has to use the modules while in space. For the first pillar, we have your outgoing damage. There are many different weapon systems in EVE, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. Your choice of weapon type will be decided by the ship hull, but you can further specialize based on how you plan to fly your ship. Projectile weapons, for example, fit onto Minmatar ships and are split into close-range autocannons or long-range artillery. Weapons are always fitted into the high slots of your ship. We can also use the low slots to add damage modules to make our guns hit harder. For our autocannons here, we're fitting 2 Tech 2 gyro stabilizers and loading close-ranged fusion ammunition. This ammo primarily fires explosive, which is effective against Angel Cartel pirates, information which can be found in the Show Info panel when you click on any NPC pirate. For the second pillar, we want to focus on our defensive capability, our tank. When improving the shields or armor of any ship, you can choose between using active modules such as a shield booster or armor repairer, or buffer modules like the shield extender and armor plate. There is also a third kind of tank that boosts the passive regeneration of your shield to stay alive. For missions, you will likely want to use an active tank. This will allow you to repair your ship while in space and fighting instead of running away when your shield or armor are low. Your choice in shield or armor is also usually decided by the ship hull and how many types of each slot it has. Shield modules tend to use mid slots and armor modules fit into low slots. We'll use a shield booster here to repair our shields and a hardener module to improve our resists. If you know which type of damage you'll be taking, then you can fit specific resists here, but we're going to go with the multi-spectrum shield hardener, which boosts all resists simultaneously. It can also be useful to fit a damage control. This module improves your shield, armor and hull resists and takes up a low slot, which we have plenty of. After fitting that damage control, we're now over on CPU. To fix that, we're going to fill our last low slot with a new type of module, a fitting module. In this case, we want a co-processor to improve the ship's CPU output. Now that we have tank and damage, we need to consider the third pillar, mobility. Our autocannons are short-ranged and will only apply half their damage at their 10km fall-off. To make sure we can destroy pirates effectively, we're going to fit a micro-warp drive. This module will let us move extremely quickly to new targets at the cost of high capacitor usage and an increased ship signature radius. The alternative option to a micro-warp drive would be an afterburner, which is slower but uses less capacitor and does not increase your signature. Signature radius indicates how easy it is to target your ship. A smaller signature radius makes you hard to hit and allows you to take less damage from larger weapons. This can help you tank using signature or speed by getting under your opponent's guns, effectively dodging their bullets. Such a fit might also use a nanofiber to increase their speed and agility. We're going to keep the micro warp drive for now, but notice how it uses a lot of fitting and has overloaded our CPU once again. Instead of using another fitting module, we can instead try swapping out some of our Tech 2 modules for compact versions instead. In this case, we're going to use two counterbalanced combat gyro stabilizers and the IFFA compact damage control, which have slightly lower stats but reduced fitting costs. Finally, onto the last pillar. We need to fix our capacitor, the amount of energy our ship can use to activate modules. Right now it runs out in only 20 seconds due to our shield booster and micro warp drive. We can start to fix that by using our rig slots. Rigs can improve nearly any function of your ship, but they cannot be removed without breaking them. Fortunately, as this is a simulation, we can test them before fitting them for real. In this case, we are going to use 3 small capacitor control circuits to improve our capacitor recharge speed. Our capacitor is still a bit unstable, so we're going to exchange some of our defense or tank for capacitor by dropping the multi-spectrum shield hardener for a cap recharger, making us cap stable. Being fully cap stable isn't always necessary, but it's nice to have and prevents us from running into a situation where our shield booster stops working. There are plenty of other modules to improve your capacitor, such as cap batteries, cap flux coils, or power relays. Each does something unique, so be sure to read the module descriptions. You may have noticed that doing this freed up a lot of CPU, since the cap recharger has lower fitting requirements. We can now remove that co-processor that we added earlier, freeing up a low slot. This slot is an excellent place to put in an application module like the tracking enhancer. This will improve the tracking of our guns while also extending our range out to 12 kilometers. Good application of damage on target is vital in both PvE and PvP. Your ship might have really high damage, but if you can't hit small targets, you'll never destroy them. Our fit is now complete. We can now save it, drag the fit name into chat to share it, or even buy it all now with the buy all button. There are more efficiency improvements you can make to your fit, but figuring that out is the art of fitting itself. This may involve getting out there and seeing how different pirate factions behave and how you need to prepare yourself to deal with their damage types and electronic warfare. Being properly prepared for a fight is the key component for being successful as an enforcer in EVEOnline.
Once you've reached a relic or data site, It's time to start breaking open those containers for the valuable loot within. Approach a container, lock it up, and activate the relevant module, a relic analyzer for relic sites or a data analyzer for data sites. When you activate a relic or data analyzer, the hacking screen will open. From here you need to successfully break the lock in order to open the vault and access the loot within. But note, failing twice will cause the container to explode, taking all of the valuables inside with it. Your goal is to locate and destroy the system core, which is hidden somewhere in the network. Clicking the explorable blue nodes will allow you to proceed to adjacent nodes. However, be warned. Defensive subsystems will be found scattered throughout the network, which will attempt to block your path. You will need to overcome or bypass these security systems in order to reach the core. You may also find utility subsystems, which you can use to get an advantage, as well as data caches, which may contain either helpful utilities or dangerous defences. In the lower left-hand corner of the window, you'll also see 2 bars for coherence and strength. Coherence can be thought of as your health, while strength represents the damage you do when attacking a node. As you attack defensive subsystems or the system core, you'll take damage to your coherence while damaging the coherence of the node you're attacking. If you reduce the coherence of a defensive subsystem to 0, it will disappear. However, if your own coherence falls to 0, you will fail the hack and be kicked from the network. There are 4 types of defensive subsystems you may encounter while hacking. Firewalls, which have high coherence but low strength. Antivirus, which have low coherence but high strength. Restoration nodes, which heal random defensive subsystems on the network each turn. And virus suppressors, which weaken your strength while active. You generally want to avoid attacking as much as possible until these have been removed from the network. It's generally a good idea to explore further before directly attacking a defensive subsystem, as you may uncover additional helpful utility subsystems, which you can use to overcome them, or even the exposed core if you're lucky. However, due to the disruptive effects of restoration and suppressor nodes, you will want to destroy these immediately. The difficulty of a hacking site is generally determined by the security status of the space you're in. More difficult hacking sites require better equipment, skills, and execution, but can be much more lucrative. In harder sites, defensive nodes will take and deal more coherence damage before being removed. The dangerous restoration and suppressor subsystems are also only found in more difficult sites, so you don't need to worry about them just yet if you're starting off exploring in high security space. As you explore a network, you may also discover helpful utility subsystems along the way. These are tools you can use to gain an advantage in overcoming defensive subsystems and increase your odds of success. The utility subsystems you may encounter are self-repair, which gradually increases your coherence over each turn. You'll want to use these immediately, as there is no maximum coherence value. Kernel rots, which cut the system's coherence in half. Use these to break through high coherence systems such as firewalls. Polymorphic shields, which nullify the next 2 attacks against you, preventing you from losing coherence. Use this before attacking high-strength systems, such as an antivirus. And secondary vectors, which reduce a system's coherence over time. You'll want to use these to augment attacks against key targets, particularly to wear down suppressor nodes while your virus strength is reduced, without having to attack them directly. As you explore, you may also uncover data caches. They may either contain a helpful utility subsystem or a dangerous defensive one. Because there's no way to know what a data cache contains before opening it, it's generally recommended to only open these as a last resort, when you might otherwise fail without a utility subsystem to give you a needed edge. You now know the basics of the hacking process. Click through the network, revealing nodes as you go, and try to find and destroy the system core without letting the defensive subsystems destroy you first. Here you can see we're exploring the network and find that we've hit a firewall. We continue exploring before attacking it, finding a repair which we can use immediately to gain extra coherence. Then, once other routes have turned up empty, we attack the firewall, overcoming it and revealing the system core behind it. We attack the system core and voila, we've beaten the hack and can now access the container for the valuable loot within. While exploring, you will notice a number appear briefly as you reveal a node. This number indicates the distance to the nearest system core, utility subsystem, or data cache. You can use these to guide you in a potentially useful direction as you explore the network. For example, we can see that this 5 indicates that the core won't be found within 5 nodes of this one, so we should probably continue exploring over to another area of the board. Here we can see that we have a 1, which indicates that there is something potentially interesting nearby. By exploring the surrounding nodes, we find the system core, which we can then successfully destroy and beat the hack. For an extra edge, there's a more advanced technique you can practice while hacking, which is referred to as the Rule of 6. The Rule of 6 simply states that if a node is surrounded by 6 connecting nodes, then it either contains no defensive subsystem or is adjacent to the system core. This means that if you aim for these central nodes, you're less likely to encounter defensive subsystems, and, if you do, you know that the core is nearby, so you don't waste too much time fighting with unnecessary defensive subsystems elsewhere. Trying to reveal these nodes first is a good tactic to improve your chances of a successful hack. The loot contained within relic and data containers can be sold on the market for profit, which you can then use to upgrade your ship and equipment. The loot from relic and data sites is always in demand from industrialists who are trying to use it. The loot from relic sites is salvage, used in the production of ship rigs, and the loot from data sites is generally used for the purposes of inventing T2 blueprints. Now that you understand the basics of hacking, go out there, break open some relic and data containers, and start filling your cargo with the sweet loot found within. While exploring in EVEOnline, you'll sooner or later happen across a wormhole. These mysterious holes in space can lead almost anywhere, including distant, mysterious systems far removed from normal space. While wormhole space can be dangerous, it can also be extremely lucrative for those capsuleers willing to brave the darkness. Wormholes are hidden cosmic signatures and can only be located through scanning, much like relic and data sites. If you need a refresher on scanning, check out the Scanning Basics video. Once you have a wormhole fully scanned, you can warp to it to find an ominous spherical portal in space. Before diving in, you should assess the hole to gather information. Right-click and show info on the wormhole to bring up more details. This will bring up a panel which displays useful information about the hole, including where the wormhole leads to, such as a high, low, or null security system. If this text mentions unknown parts of space, then it leads to a wormhole system outside of normal space. Wormhole systems are divided into 6 different classes, commonly known as C1 through C6. These represent the danger of the NPC sites and relative hostility of any environmental effects that you might encounter. When this text reads simply as unknown space, you know that this is a C1, C2, or C3 system. If you see dangerous unknown parts of space instead, then it's a C4 or C5, and deadly space refers to a Class 6 system. Determining the exact class of a wormhole is a bit more difficult, as this involves relying on visual clues from the wormhole itself, or looking up the wormhole type out of game. In the centre of a wormhole, you can see the background nebulae of the system on the other side. Higher class wormholes appear darker and more red than lower class ones as a general rule, but more on that later. On the next line, you can get a rough idea of how long's left before this wormhole collapses, disappearing forever. If it reads end of life, then take care, as the wormhole will collapse sometime within the next 4 hours. The last 2 sections refer to the maximum size of ship which can jump through that wormhole, and the total remaining mass. If enough large ships pass through the wormhole, then it will eventually collapse and sever the connection. Collapsing a wormhole by passing ships through it is commonly referred to as rolling. The visual appearance of the wormhole can give you additional clues as to its nature. In the centre of a wormhole, you can glimpse the sky on the other side. This can allow you to identify the specific class of wormhole system that you're looking at. Wormholes leading to Class 1 systems have grey clouds and black features. They are overall very muted in colour. Class 2 wormholes have a more brown hue, and are most easily identified by black cloud, visible within a brighter grey cloud. Class 3 wormholes will again have a background of grey clouds, but you will notice bright red clouds visible among them. Class 4 wormholes have a distinct dark red colour with contrasting bright white and dark black clouds. Class 5 holes are dark reddish brown and appear somewhat more muted than their Class 4 counterparts. And lastly, Class 6 holes are a vibrant and violent mix of orange and reds. If the wormhole leads to known space, you can even identify the region it leads to by looking at the nebulas visible in the background. The wispy rings dancing at the edges of a wormhole also give you information at a glance about what ships can pass through it. A pure blue colour indicates it's a small wormhole through which only frigate-sized ships may pass. Teal indicates the wormhole is medium in size, allowing ships up to battle cruisers to pass through. Grey indicates a wormhole through which any subcapital ship can pass. And lastly, a yellow-gold colour indicates a massive wormhole through which even some capital ships and freighters may be able to travel. Now that we know almost everything there is to learn about this wormhole, it's time to venture inside. If you're feeling confident, right-click the wormhole and choose Enter Wormhole to pass through it. When you jump into a wormhole system, you'll find yourself far from home in a system represented by a J followed by a 6-digit number, commonly referred to as a J-code. Notice that these systems have a -1 security value, meaning that you need to watch out for other capsuleers hidden in the darkness. Cloaking devices in wormholes are both commonplace and highly recommended. You may also notice an environmental effect in the wormhole, which can be seen above your capacitor. If you need more information about the wormhole itself, including the exact class of the wormhole, you can find out by checking Capsuleer-created intel tools online. There are no stargates or NPC stations in wormhole space. Navigating between systems is only possible by using a scanner, so be sure to right-click and bookmark your way home before venturing further in. Local chat in wormholes operates in delayed mode, meaning that you won't appear in the list of pilots unless you type in local. While you cannot directly see if other players are in the system with you, you can, however, use the directional scanner to search for ships within range that you should be aware of. The D-scan menu can be opened by clicking the Scanners button next to the capacitor and clicking on the directional scanner. This will open the directional scan window and the system map. Because we'll be using D-scan often, we can undock the directional scan window from the system map by clicking the Undock button. There's plenty to do in wormhole space, including some extremely profitable pirate faction data and relic sites. These can be found by scanning within Class 1, 2 and 3 systems in unknown wormhole space, though be careful not to accidentally warp into a sleeper-infested hacking site if you value your ship, that is. When you're ready to return from wormhole space, you can simply try to head straight back out the way you came. If you jump out within 5 minutes, however, your ship will become polarized to that wormhole connection for 5 minutes since your first jump, preventing you from jumping back again for a short time. This isn't a problem most of the time, but don't let polarization catch you off guard when you're on the run from a less than friendly player. Wormholes by their nature are transient pathways, and whether a connection collapsed from the mass of multiple ships passing through, or simply from its natural lifetime coming to an end, you might find that your way home is gone. This can be a scary experience, but it does not mean you're trapped, as long as you have your trusty probe scanner. Every wormhole system has one or more static wormholes, which originate within the system and lead to other areas of space. A Class 2 wormhole system, for example, will always have at least one connection into wormhole space, and one back out to high-sec, low-sec or null-sec. The types of statics will vary from system to system, but you can always find at least one new wormhole to follow. Understanding and utilising wormholes can be a great way to make ISK, or visit faraway places with just a few jumps. Some capsuleers even choose to set up a structure and live in wormhole space permanently. Whether you plan on staying a while or you're simply day tripping, knowing how to navigate wormholes safely is a valuable skill that will set you apart as a talented explorer in EVEOnline.
Finding friends to fly with opens up a whole new realm of experiences and adventures in your EVE journey. Players can form their own corporations and work together towards shared goals. These corporations can even band together into alliances, some of which are massive with tens of thousands of members. Finding a corporation that's right for you can greatly enhance your experience and give you the support you need to survive and thrive amidst the dangers of New Eden. Most corporations in EVE specialize in certain styles of gameplay, often shaped by the space in which they live. As you look for a group that suits your interests, consider the type of space that most interests you and look for corporations that call those places home. High-sec corporations tend to focus on PvE gameplay styles, such as mission running, mining, and industry. However, this doesn't mean that PvP doesn't occur for those in high-sec corporations. Groups that build structures become vulnerable to declarations of war from other player groups, and may find themselves fighting to protect their assets or even going on the offensive to attack their rivals. Some high-sec corporations even make criminal ganking of others a way of life, frequently losing their ships to Concord, but often taking their targets down with them. Corporations which call low security space home often find themselves involved in small-scale PvP engagements, either through faction warfare or general piracy. Those corporations which are enlisted in a faction's militia will often work together to conquer space for their faction, while others may focus on a criminal life, working to free innocent passers-by from their ships and take whatever valuable loot they had on board. As with any space, there may also be corporations which aren't as PvP focused, instead preferring to avoid conflicts when they can and profit from the space around them. However, sometimes a fight simply cannot be avoided. Null security space is divided into two types, NPC and sovereign space. NPC space is owned by NPC corporations and cannot be claimed by players. Corporations here tend to be smaller and often similar in lifestyle to low security pirate groups. Sovereign nullsec, on the other hand, is home to massive player empires, which frequently come into conflict as they vie for dominance and control of star systems. Corporations and their alliances which make their home in Sov Null will often find themselves defending or attacking space in large fleets. If you're interested in participating in massive fleet fights, look for a well-established nullsec group to join. Many of these groups are happy to take on newer players. Even the smallest frigate can turn the tide of a major battle. And lastly, some groups choose to make their homes in wormhole space. Wormholes offer unique challenges as the routes to and from wormhole systems are regularly shifting and need to be scanned down, and local chat does not show potentially hostile players who may be lurking nearby. Because of this, ambush attacks from cloaked ships are common and pilots need to always be on guard. Structures anchored in wormhole space also drop all of their contents upon destruction, so evictions are common as attackers invade wormholes seeking to steal the defenders' belongings. The brutality of wormhole life can make it tough to get started as a new player, but there are some corps which will be happy to show you the ropes, if you're brave enough. Once you have an idea of the type of group you're interested in joining, it's time to start the hunt. Corporations try to advertise themselves through many channels in and out of game, so there is not necessarily a best way to go about finding one. It's recommended you search around multiple channels and try to find the best corporation for you. In-game, corporations can list recruitment advertisements, which you can search through. To view recruiting corporations in-game, click on the Neocom menu in the top left-hand corner of the screen, go to Social, and then click on Corporation. In the Corporation window, you then want to click on the Recruitment tab and then on Search. Here you can find a list of recruiting corporations. Carefully tune the search results to fit what you're looking for. You can choose types of gameplay that interest you, the type of space you'd be interested in living in, your language, playtimes, and even how large you would like the corporation to be. You can then click through the various advertisements on the right-hand side of the window to reveal a bit more about them. If you want to chat a bit with a group before joining or have any questions about a corporation, many groups have public channels where you can chat with recruiters. Just show info on a corporation and check their bio for a link. Corporations also advertise out of game through venues such as the official EVE forums or the EVE Jobs subreddit. Feel free to check these resources out. You can even just chat with other pilots you've interacted with in-game and ask for suggestions. Once you've found a corporation you want to apply to, Be sure to double check their advertisement for details on their application process. It's not unusual for EVE corporations to request applications to be submitted out of game via third-party tools, particularly for larger corporations, as this allows them to more easily authenticate you into the various tools and IT services the group uses. Some of the IT services large alliances employ rival those of real-world corporations. In this example, you can see us logging into EVEHR, a third-party application management system used by many EVE corporations. Once you've been approved and invited to a corporation, congratulations! You can accept the invite by opening the corporation window in-game, clicking the Recruitment tab, and then clicking the My Applications tab. Once you join the corporation, be sure to review all of the introductory material they provide in the welcome mail you receive in-game, set up any IT services they make use of for communication, and start getting to know your new corp mates. Crime is just a fact of life for the citizens of New Eden, and for some, a perfectly legitimate business strategy. Concord is the entity responsible for keeping the peace between capsuleers. Each empire employs their own police forces as well. However, all of these forces have limited reach. No system in New Eden is completely safe. New Eden is split into 3 categories based on security level. Systems with a security value from 0.5 to 1 are known as high security space, or HiSec for short. Aggressive actions against other capsuleers in HiSec will elicit retaliation by Concord, resulting in swift destruction of the offending party. In systems with a lower security status, Concord's response is delayed, a fact that some of the more dangerous capsuleers may use to their advantage. Outside of HiSec and beyond the reach of Concord are regions of low security space, shown in your HUD as systems between 0.4 and 0.1. In low security space, NPC pirates become stronger and PvE content is much more lucrative than HiSec. However, capsuleers may freely engage one another without the risk of Concord intervening. While Concord does not have response ships in these systems, aggressive action will result in a loss of a capsuleer's personal security standing, and the stationary sentry guns on stargates and stations will fire upon those who break the law. Systems with a security status of 0.0 and below are vast nullsec regions, the majority of which are owned by massive player alliances. Crimes committed in nullsec go unpunished by Concord, and involved pilots do not lose security standings for aggression. New mechanics also become available, including the use of interdiction spheres, commonly referred to as bubbles. Bubbles may be deployed by capsuleers to prevent ships from warping away or reaching their intended destination. The security status of your systems on your route can be seen directly on your HUD. Once you have chosen a destination, coloured blocks which represent the security of each system along the way are displayed in the upper left corner of the screen. You can mouse over each of these to see more details for any particular jump. By clicking the A icon above your route, you are also able to set your path to prefer shorter, safer, or even less secure systems. Engaging in criminal activity in EVE will result in specific flags being applied to you. These flags are referred to as timers and determine who can legally shoot you when they're active. A suspect timer is triggered when engaging in most forms of criminal activity, such as shooting at another player in low-sec or stealing someone else's loot in high-sec. Suspects can be freely engaged by other capsuleers in any system, regardless of their security status, for as long as they're flagged as a suspect. Should you choose to shoot a suspect, Concord will not intervene and no security status will be lost. A criminal timer is reserved for more serious offences, such as shooting at a player in high-sec or destroying a capsule in low-sec. Having a criminal timer while present in high-sec will result in Concord quickly destroying the offender. A limited engagement timer is created when attacking a player flagged as a suspect or criminal. This timer will last for 5 minutes and allows for combat between yourself and one other pilot. You can have multiple limited engagement timers on at any one time. Engaging other capsuleers in any security level will also result in a 60-second combat timer, denoted by a red chain link icon. While this timer is active, you cannot dock or take gates.
The Stargate denies you permission to jump at at the moment.
Keep this in mind if you think you may need to make a hasty retreat. Your ship's safety settings will prevent you from committing crimes by default. However, should you choose, you can lower your safety settings to allow you to take illegal actions, if you are willing to deal with the consequences. Click on the small icon to the upper left of your capacitor to find the options for full, partial, or disabled safety settings. With safety set to green, you cannot commit illegal actions, preventing you from accidentally flagging yourself as a suspect or criminal. Partial or yellow safety will allow you to partake in actions that would generate a suspect timer, such as stealing from someone's loot container in high sec or shooting at non-suspects in low sec. When safety is set to red, all safety controls are disabled, allowing you to shoot capsules in low sec or even other players in high sec. But note that Concord may quickly respond to free you from your ship. If you find yourself living a life of crime, you may find your personal security status dropping quickly. This value represents your relationship with the faction police of New Eden. Security status is gained by killing NPC pirates and lowered by committing offences in high sec and low sec. If this value drops below -2.0, then faction police will attack you in some high sec systems. At -5.0, you will be classified as an outlaw and may be attacked anywhere without any protection from Concord or low-sec gate guns. Should you ever wish to atone for your crimes, you can turn in security tags to the appropriate authority, but be warned, they come at a high cost. Understanding the laws of New Eden is a key foundation upon which any aspiring soldier of fortune may begin their career. From here, it's up to you. Whether you choose to make your way in low security space or avoid the law entirely by carving out a path in null security or wormhole space. Wherever your adventures take you, knowing the rules of engagement for the space you are in will serve you well.
Almost everything you interact with in EVE was built by players. From ships, modules and ammunition, to massive player-owned structures and super capital ships. Everything that players build is assembled from resources gathered through various activities from across the galaxy. Whether it's mined from asteroids, pulled from the surface of a planet, ripped from the face of a moon, or harvested from interstellar clouds of gas and ice. If you're ever curious about the components used to build something, or what a resource can be used to create, you can right-click on that item, show info, and then click on the industry tab. This will show you the blueprint required to create it, the resources you can get from reprocessing it, and even what that item can be used to build if applicable. To see the full bill of materials used to create that item, click Show Info on the blueprint from this window and expand the Required Input Materials drop-down. You can use blueprints such as this to build items, which we'll cover in more detail in the basic industrial production video. Manufacturing resources fall into a few basic categories, which cover most of the items players build in-game. Basic ore is mined from asteroids, and is a primary component in most ships and items built in New Eden. Moon materials are gathered via moon mining, which requires a large refinery structure to blast off a chunk of the moon to be mined. Gas can be harvested from gas clouds, and is used in advanced ship production. Ice materials can be obtained from mining in ice belts, and are used primarily to make fuel blocks, which power large structures. Planetary commodities are obtained through planetary industry, and are used in a wide range of goods, depending on what you choose to build. Salvage can be gathered from the wrecks of ships or from exploring hidden relic sites, and is used in the production of ship rigs, which are in constant demand. And lastly, abyssal materials, which are gathered from running, looting and surviving in abyssal dead space. We'll be discussing many of these items in more detail in later videos. If you're just starting out in EVE, it can be helpful to pick one type of resource to master before moving on to others. Many industrialists will focus on harvesting a single resource and sell what they don't use. They can then use the profits to buy the remaining components that they need to build the ships or modules they've set their hearts on creating. In the Trading for Profit video, we'll cover market trading in more depth. But for now, head out mining to make a bit of profit and start working your way up to building your first items. Equip a pair of mining lasers to a venture and head out. You can find nearby asteroid belts and ore anomalies by opening the agency window and selecting the Resource Harvesting tab. Then select the resource you're looking for. For now, we're going to choose ore anomalies, as these often contain rarer ores than may be found in belts. On the next screen, you can now see a list of nearby systems which contain ore anomalies. Pick one and click the Set Destination button in the lower right-hand corner of the agency screen. Then undock and make your way to that system. Upon arrival, you'll need to open your ship's probe scanner window to locate the ore anomaly you're looking for. Click the Scanners button to the lower left side of your capacitor and then select the probe scanner. This will open the system map and the probe scanner window. In the probe scanner window, locate the ore anomaly. Right-click on it and choose Warp to. Unlike cosmic signatures, these types of anomalies do not need to be scanned before you can warp to them. Once you arrive, switch to your Mining Overview tab, look up some asteroids and activate your mining lasers. Go out, gather materials to your heart's content, and you will start amassing wealth in no time. Exploration in EVEOnline involves scanning down hidden locations to search for valuable loot hidden within them. These sites may be ancient ruins where you uncover relics of the past, or hidden data vaults which you can hack into to retrieve the valuable information within. To begin exploring, you will need a ship fit with the necessary equipment, a core scan probe launcher and 8 core scan probes. You will also need a relic analyzer, a data analyzer, or both, depending on the type of site you're looking for. For this video, we'll fit both types of analyzers. These modules can all be easily purchased via the in-game market. While a core probe launcher can be fit to any ship, it helps to use a ship designed for exploration. These ships will have a bonus to scan probe strength, to make scanning easier, as well as a bonus to relic and data analyzers. You can view the role bonuses of any ship by right-clicking on it and choosing Show Info. Each empire has its own entry-level frigate, designed for exploration. These are the Caldari Heron, Galente Imicus, Amar Magnate, and the aptly named Minmatar Probe. Pick your favourite, fit it up, then undock and begin exploring. Once you're out in space, it's time to start scanning. Open the probe scanner window by clicking the Scanners button on the left-hand side of your capacitor, and then clicking the probe scanner. This will open the probe scan window and the solar system map. In the probe scanner window, we're looking for cosmic signatures. These are hidden sites which can only be located by scanning them down. While exploring, you may find it helpful to use the filter in the probe scan window to hide anomalies, which can already be warped to and show as entries in green. If there's a cosmic signature in your system, it's time to start scanning it down. Click the probe launcher module to the right of your capacitor to launch your probes. You will see them appear on the solar system map. Each blue sphere represents the scan range of your individual probes. Now select the anomaly you would like to scan in the probe scan window and reposition your probes to be centered over it in the map. You can move the probes by clicking and dragging the arrows around the sides of the center cube in the solar system map. Remember that space is three-dimensional, and you'll need to reposition your camera to make sure your probes are properly centered. You can quickly flip between the top and side view by double-clicking on empty space in the map to make this easier. Once your probes are centered, resize them using the slider at the bottom of the probe scan window to fully cover the cosmic signature. When the anomaly is surrounded by your probes, click the Analyze button in the probe scan window to scan it. This will warp all of your probes into position, and they will begin to scan. Once complete, you'll notice that the anomaly shifts position and the signal will increase. This represents your progress in narrowing down the location of the cosmic signature. Now we repeat the process to continue scanning down the signature. Recenter your probes, checking the position both horizontally and vertically, then reduce the size by 1 step and analyze again. Keep doing this until the anomaly is scanned down. Recenter, resize, analyze. Once the cosmic signature has turned green, you've successfully scanned down the site and are now able to walk to it. Now that you have found the site, it's time to start breaking open those containers with your relic or data analyzer for the valuable loot within. We'll cover this process in more detail in the Hacking for Profit video.
Working with agents and completing missions can earn you valuable income and standing with a corporation. As you earn standing, you will unlock more difficult missions and earn pay to upgrade your ship and take those challenges on. Missions are available via NPC corporation agents. You can locate an agent to work with by opening the agency window, clicking the Agents and Missions tab, and selecting Mission Agents. Missions are available in 3 basic types: security, which focuses primarily on combat; distribution, which primarily focuses on the transport of goods; and mining, which focuses on resource acquisition by mining asteroids. Feel free to choose any type that interests you. For this video, we'll be selecting security agents. The next screen will show all agents which are currently available to you. More advanced and lucrative agents can be unlocked as you gain standing with a corporation. Note that for each agent you can see their system and its security status, their corporation, and their level. Higher level agents pay more generously, but the missions they offer are more challenging and require progressively larger and tougher ships to complete. Agents in lower security areas are also more lucrative than agents of the same level in higher security space, but you will be at increased risk of being attacked by other players. Select an agent that interests you and click Set Destination. Then undock and make your way to meet your new agent. When you arrive at the agent's station, locate them in the agent panel from that station menu and click the speech bubble to start a conversation. This will open the agent conversation window, where the agent will give you details about the mission you are being offered. Make careful note of any locations mentioned or items required on this screen. If you're feeling confident, click Accept to start the mission. Note that you must complete the mission within a certain time limit to receive the reward. And if you complete it fast enough, you may even receive bonus rewards. Use the Agent Missions Details screen to get your locations and make sure you've completed all of your objectives. If your mission could involve combat, be sure to go prepared to fight. Once you've completed your mission, speak with your agent again to let them know and collect your rewards. Successfully completing a mission will reward you with ISK and loyalty points, or LP. LP can be exchanged for valuable goods in the corporation's LP store. You also gain standing with the corporation, which can unlock more agents, higher level missions, and even better rewards. Epic arcs are chains of missions through which you follow a unique storyline. Completing an epic arc gives special rewards, which are much more valuable than other missions of a similar level. To find an epic arc, open the agency window and click on the Agents and Missions tab at the top. Then click on Epic Arcs. Here you can see a list of available epic arcs. Note that most epic arcs require you to have a minimum standing with a faction or corporation. However, the Sisters of Eve epic arc, the Bloodstained Stars, has no minimum requirement and is relatively easy and rewarding to complete as a new player. To begin an epic arc, simply select the one you're interested in and hit the Set Destination button to head out and meet your agent. Once you arrive at your agent's station, open the epic arc screen in the agency window and click Start Conversation to receive your first mission. Review the mission details and click Accept to begin. Then follow the agent mission details on the left side of your screen to complete your objectives. When you arrive in a system where you have an objective to complete, you can easily warp into the mission by using the right-click context menu in Space. As you complete each mission, the next mission in the arc will be offered. You can track your progress via the Epic Arc window in the agency. If you're ever not sure what the next step is, you can always find it again here. Keep completing these missions until you've seen the story through to its end. Then, bask in your accomplishment and its rewards.
EVE is a multifaceted game, but there are two aspects without which New Eden could not dynamically persist: combat and industry. However, while making stuff and breaking stuff are inextricably linked, it is the wise industrialist that is best poised to profit, not with brash tactics and weapons fire, but by employing calm efficiency and forethought. So let's put PvP to one side for a minute and explore the complex yet relaxing industries of New Eden.
Skill training completed.
At its most basic level, industry is the process of taking raw materials and turning them into products, modules, and ships, so they can be consumed, destroyed, thus creating the demand for more. Industry is a vast subject that covers many areas of gameplay, but demand aside, there are just three things that are necessary for industrial activity to exist. Most obvious are the physical resources needed to build a product. Second, you need a facility in which to combine those resources, usually a station. Last but not least are the skills, knowledge, and experience required to put the correct resources together, represented in-game by blueprints. Without all three, neither the smallest round of ammunition nor the largest vessel can begin to exist.
The asteroid is depleted.
Production materials in EVE can be extracted from various places across New Eden. The most basic comes from mining asteroids, from which various ores can be reprocessed into minerals that are used for the bulk of most production runs. Higher tier items, Tech 2 and Tech 3 ships and equipment, will require high grade and often rare materials. Of course, as in all things, where production supply is limited, you can always turn to the market for a price. Blueprints, or blueprint copies for the most basic items, can also be sourced easily from the market, or given as mission rewards or loot. Once acquired, they can be researched to improve their time and material efficiency, respectively speeding up the process of and reducing the resource cost of production. To facilitate the building of lucrative Tech 2 items, blueprints have to go through a skill-intensive process called invention, which requires the use of data cores and optional decryptors to complete a potentially costly but necessary process.
You have been promoted.
Those same data cores and decryptors can also be used to reverse engineer the blueprints necessary to manufacture lucrative Tech 3 hulls and subsystems. As you might have gathered, industrial activities, especially those that require or produce scarce resources, are among the most skill-intensive and the most profitable in the game. Depending on the process, it's also crucial that the right facility, whether it's within a station, a dedicated outpost, or citadel, is properly selected and resourced to complete it.
Warping to station.
However, there is one form of industrial enterprise that can be set up and directed almost anywhere and everywhere, with only a small investment in skills and equipment. Planetary interaction, rather than focusing on single or batch items, is about establishing a network of input-output processes across the surface of a world to create a largely automated production cycle. Across New Eden, there are 8 types of planet, for which you need the appropriate command center to be able to set up an array of extractors, processors, and storage nodes that turn raw materials into goods, with only occasional oversight needed. Output can then be shipped off-world for sale or transported to another planet for further refinement. Regardless of how you choose to specialise, whether it's in developing blueprints, refining resources or manufacturing, it pays to maintain a strategic eye over what's going on across New Eden, so that as the wheels of industry drive EVE's cycle of creation and destruction, you are forever turning a profit while kicking back and relaxing. Ways to get into PvP, such as signing up for a class or joining a large alliance that teaches the fundamentals of combat in all its forms.
You have been promoted.
You'll start with the basics and work your way through all the necessary skills, often with highly experienced PvP fleet commanders leading the way. If you prefer to just dive in, look for open or public fleets. Or if you want to flavour your PvP with EVE's backstory or events, join a militia to engage in low-sec faction warfare. If you're already in a corp with trusted allies, why not join in the next combat patrol? Challenge someone to a friendly duel, perhaps in cheaply fitted out frigates. Or if you're a solo player, fit the best ship you can to spot and track your prey before thinking about taking it down. If you're just getting used to the ways of New Eden, the advice is the same for PvP as it is for most aspects of EVE. Don't fly what you cannot afford to lose. There are a number of principles you have to abide by as a PvP pilot, first among them being that you want to emerge victorious. A good fight is secondary to winning it, so fit to kill. Or fit your ship so you can pin your opponent down to allow others to make the final blow. Slowing down your target, not allowing it to warp away and getting the job done before any help arrives are all key considerations when preparing to head out alone or with friends. Of course, you can't take down a suitable target if you can't find one first.
Warping to station.
This starts with knowing the territory, such as what activities local players might be engaging in and where, whether they're just passing through for purposes of trade or taking part in missions. If you know what your prey might be up to, you will have some insight about possible fittings. Use combat probes and the directional scanner to track your target, then, when the time is right, when you have the advantage in terms of timing, speed, range, numbers or firepower, you can close in for the kill. Be under no illusion, PvP is difficult, especially in a game like EVE, where there are so many factors to consider. But with enough knowledge and experience, a little help and some persistence, your successes will quickly outnumber any failures. Learn from both, take your opportunities when they come, and you'll soon be reaping the rewards and building up a reputation. The lawless expanse that circles high-security space is famed for its vast riches and epic battles, but EVE's jealously guarded nullsec regions have never been more accessible than they are today. Away from the relative safety of Concord-protected Empire space, the rules that govern 0-0 are as changeable as the alliances that claim them. You could be trapped and hunted just for entering the wrong system at the wrong time, or just as easily left to your own devices. But whatever your fate, don't expect justice to come to your aid if things turn ugly.
Initiating capsule ejection.
One of the biggest obstacles to enjoying nullsec has been to enter it, with the low-sec or entry systems often more fraught than nullsec itself. Thankfully, since the recent introduction of needlejack filaments, the sentries that often guard the routes into Alliance-held space are no longer a barrier to be feared. Whether looted from exploration systems, manufactured or bought from the market, needlejack filaments are activated simply by right-clicking on them via your ship cargo. Depending on the type, there are 6, you and up to 24 of your wingmates will then be transported to a semi-randomly selected system. Thus, having avoided any unnecessary border entanglements, you can roam at will behind enemy lines, causing as much mayhem as might attract an appropriate response from the established residents of the area. The idea of filaments is simply to have fun, with less of the bother of having to find it. That's not to say there aren't consequences to using them. Assuming you survive the attentions of eager patrols, you're going to have to make your own way back to safety, either by navigating the vagaries of wormhole space, or by finding a way past those gate camps you so neatly avoided on the way in.
Warp drive active.
In short, needlejack filaments are a one-way deal. However you intend to get there, and how deep you plan to go into 0-0 space, the trick is to be prepared. Pick the right ship and right modules only for what you hope to achieve, and, as ever, don't fly what you can ill afford to lose. If you can make use of any friendly mobile depots, at least you'll be able to update your ship fit to a travel one for your escape from 0-0 space. As with any journey, check your route by using the map to see where the danger zones are, and use your wits, guile, and onboard scanner to avoid becoming trapped by gate camps, interdiction bubbles, or hunted down by roaming gangs. For most people, surviving and thriving in 0-0 isn't just about being in the right ship at the right time. It's about having the right people at your back, either there with you or in your contacts list. Even then, you might not survive your first visit, but if you know what to expect, you'll soon be able to hold your own and become a force to be reckoned with, perhaps one day by jealously guarding your own corner of New Eden against curious newcomers. Even if you prefer the relative peace of high-sec, whether it's to explore new systems, find lucrative resource sites, take on pirate arc missions, or to test yourself against other players, there will come a time when you won't be able to resist the allure of EVE's wild frontier. When that time comes, pick some friends, head into the dark unknown, and just see where EVE's adventure takes you. The ways to make money in EVEOnline are almost as varied as they are on good old Earth. In this guide, we're going to be taking a look at some of the more established methods, such as trading, mining, and completing missions, as well as one or two less obvious examples. We want to inspire you to find new ways to amass wealth, because in EVE's ever-evolving world, opportunities are everywhere. Since demands, tastes, and perceptions are ever shifting, if there's ever an obvious way to make ISK quickly, it doesn't stay that way for long. As such, rather than group money-making activities in terms of how lucrative they are, we kind of put them in no order at all.
Approaching station.
Ratting, killing pirates that is one of the most popular ways to make ISK, especially for combat pilots. It can be done at all levels, either alone or in groups, and in pretty much any combat-ready ship and any system. Essentially, it's about going to where hostile NPCs hang out and blowing them up. Just head out to a local asteroid field and see how you get on, then move on to more dangerous systems with a better ship when you're feeling confident. The trick is to know the NPC you're up against in any particular system to ensure you use the right combination of weapons, ammo, shields and armor. For example, against Sancha's nation ships, you should aim to deal EM damage while protecting yourself against EM and thermal attack. If you've completed your career missions, you will have already gotten involved in mission running, aka missioning. It's the act of completing missions for NPC agents, always for cash, but also loyalty points, which is a currency specific to each NPC corporation that can be exchanged for special items. To find an agent, just open the agency panel with Alt-M and select one that suits your playstyle and is easily accessible. High-level agents, the ones that pay out the best rewards, will require you to have a good standing with their organisation before they hire you, so you may have to work your way up the ladder to get at the good stuff. Trading in EVE is, as you might expect, one of the most fundamental paths to fortune in the game, but also one of the most scalable, demanding and diverse. You could, for instance, ferry items between stations for profit, or you could take things to the ultimate level by studying prices, having an instinct for local supply and demand, and using a network of haulage pilots, which is a way to make money in itself, to move items on your behalf. Thankfully, the barriers to trade are low. You just need to be able to spot a bargain and transport it where the returns are worthwhile, such as moving ship modules from popular mission hubs to the known centres of trade, such as Jita and Rennes. Mining is the blue-collar work that underpins the whole EVE economy, and the process of extracting minerals is simple. Just lock your mining beams on a rock and extract away, ideally with a friend nearby to transport the ore for processing. What's appealing about mining is that it's probably the easiest career to get into, and the returns are often reliably worthwhile, even for basic ores like Veldspar. There are few better ways to pass an evening than to deploy a dedicated mining barge in a rich asteroid belt with some basic rats and a good book for company. With friends alongside you, it gets even better and safer.
Docking request accepted.
Piracy is the PvP equivalent of ratting, but it doesn't just involve seeking out player ships and destroying them for their rare modules and valuable cargo. Intimidation is also a valid tactic, as many a victim will happily pay a fee to be allowed to not see their precious ship explode. Finding and halting players is much more difficult than with AI pilots, and the returns are by no means assured. But the challenge in outmaneuvering, nullifying, or simply destroying your quarry is hard to beat. Some basic low-level items aside, almost everything in EVE is player-made, which means there is a lot of money to be amassed from manufacturing. If you can source the raw materials cheaply, which may require you to get them yourself, and you have a buyer or market to sell to, all you need is a plan, literally a blueprint from the market or from a mission reward, and the means of production, which can be secured from many station services. Manufacturing itself is a largely passive process, but dovetails nicely with trading and can be a useful and immensely profitable career for those in the right place at the right time.
Autopilot engaged.
Extracting resources from planets is fundamentally the same as mining, but the process couldn't be more different. Rather than focusing on one rock, you deal with several extraction sites across a planet's surface, depending on what it is you intend to produce. Starting by placing the correct command center, you can scan for raw resources from orbit, place extractors and other automated facilities, and collect the process materials the next time you pass by the local customs office. Once your extraction and processing infrastructure is working optimally, it can be a useful sideline to augment your income. There are numerous other hard-coded ways to generate cash, from invention and research, to taking part in faction warfare, PvP-infused mission running, to high-end extraction and manufacturing processes such as moon mining. As you progress from basic mining, trading, ratting and mission running, you'll get the opportunity to try them out. However, you could try something different, more suited to your personality. For example, some creative types design logos and profile art, while others have found a niche as paid news reporters. In-game, many players sell exploration and intelligence data to the highest bidder, but on the other hand, even begging can be lucrative. In short, if there's a perceived need for something, however intangible, you can try to capitalize on it. Among all we've highlighted, there are routes to riches more suited to the new player than the old. Others that favour the solo operator to the more organised group, and certainly ones that require more in-the-moment activity than mere semi-conscious oversight. Success, however, isn't just about picking the most lucrative option, but finding the best way to make ISK that works for you and your circumstances, and that you can take the most satisfaction from. As with everything in EVE, enjoyment is its own dividend. To the uninitiated, scanning can seem like an arcane, time-consuming process, but really, all you need are the right tools and some patience. If you have a spaceship, the basic tools come fitted as standard, and if you've been playing EVE for any length of time, so too does patience. Those basic tools start with the overview, which by default is on the right of the screen whenever you're in flight. More a tactical feed than an actual scanner, it provides a constantly updated and configurable list of local ships, structures and celestial objects. For some, like player-piloted ships, the overview has limited range, but it's something to keep an eye on whenever you're in space. To find ships beyond the range of the overview, up to 14 AU away, and specifically to scout out threats that might be lurking at your next waypoint, you need to familiarise yourself with the directional scanner. The D-scanner, as it's commonly known, can only pick up contacts in a sphere or cone that radiates from the direction in which your view is pointing when you hit the scan button. If you go to the scanning interface, Alt-D, you can see how this works. By adjusting the scan range and width on the left panel, you can affect the resolution and the accuracy of the data that comes back. Used properly, the D-scanner is an invaluable scouting tool, but if you want to pinpoint ships and highlight deeper space signatures, you need to turn to your sensor overlay, which is attuned to displaying mysterious pockets of space that invariably require further investigation in order to access. These show up as coloured brackets in the main view, and as ticks that shift their orbit around your command control circle, depending on where the camera is aiming. You can of course filter out the signals you don't want, such as entry-level cosmic anomalies, which you can warp to as you would a moon or a stargate. For other stellar mysteries, collectively known as cosmic signatures, combat, relic, data, gas sites and wormholes, more specialist equipment is required, namely probe launchers and the ships that are best suited to equipping them, exploration frigates and their advanced Tech 2 variants. Before you hit the market though, there are two types of probe launcher that you need to consider for the two types of probe, core and combat. Both can be used for seeking out profitable cosmic signatures and combat anomalies, but combat probes are much less efficient at it. However, they are great at pinpointing individual ships that might otherwise go undiscovered. Regardless of who or what you'll be tracking down, the actual process of probe scanning is much the same, and is actually easy once you've done it a couple of times. Essentially, it's a process of elimination where you arrange your array of 8 probes over a signature reading, hit Analyze, then rearrange and increase scan resolution until the signal is at 100%, at which point you can warp to it and fight, hack or mine whatever's there. As an example of how to do this, here you can see a bunch of signatures that require investigating. If we click on one, we see a red wireframe sphere, which is the area we need to scan. Double click to focus on it, then launch your probes, making sure they're in a pinpoint formation. Now, see that box with the arrows? That represents the centre of where your probe array will initiate its next scan, and you want that to be over the centre of the red X. The quickest way to accomplish this is to rotate the views so that you can only see a side facing of the cube. Then dragging it to the centre of the X, you can rotate the view to the top facing and do the same again. Now if you spin around, you'll see that you're pretty much spot on, with only minor adjustments required. Next, you need to select your scan resolution, which is the probe size slider next to the Analyze button. At each stage of the scan process, and there may be 4 or 5, you want all your probes overlapping the entirety of the area where the signature might be, ideally with the centre probe covering the signature areas, in this case the sphere. When it is, hit Analyze and wait for the results. When they come in, you should find you have a smaller area to cover, either a ring, 2 points, or even better, a yellow marker. Again, simply rearrange your probes to cover each area, zooming in the view and increasing scan resolution to increase the signal strength at each stage. If you're fully zoomed in and perfectly aligned with probe size set to 0.25 AU and you're still not at 100% signal strength, hold down Shift to rearrange your individual probes in a tighter formation and try again. Once you have a signal pinpointed, what you do with it is up to you. If it's a gas site, you'll want to warp to it and mine it. If it's a data or relic site, you'll have to hack it with the required module to claim its treasures. And of course, if it's a combat site or a sneaky enemy vessel up to no good, you may want to get a more capable ship or call some friends over. And if it's a wormhole, well, who knows where it'll lead. If you've been playing EVEOnline for long enough, you'll know the greatest opportunities rarely make themselves obvious. Good luck finding them though, and don't forget to recover your probes before heading off into the partially unknown. Space littering is bad, okay? Welcome to EVEOnline. If you've come to this video having stumbled a little trying to get into the game, don't worry. By the end of it, you'll be confidently taking your first steps in the new Eden universe.
Autopilot engaged.
We start, of course, with character creation, where you establish your race, bloodline, gender, and dashing good looks. By all means, study the backstories of the empires and let them colour your character, but you should know that you won't ever be restricted by your early choices in terms of how you advance and play the game. Once you've found your feet, you can be flying the ships of other races, fulfilling any role and travelling to any destination. Skill points and attributes can later be redistributed, and even your physical appearance can be altered. This is the far, far future after all.
Docking permission requested.
Aside from a head start towards certain equipment and abilities, your early choices are only important in that they dictate the system in which you start the game, ready to begin the tutorial and the seemingly daunting process of getting to grips with the universe. Thankfully, Aura, your onboard AI assistant, will take you through the interface and a few basic concepts. If you follow her instructions, you can't go far wrong. For instance, you'll quickly understand that you control your ship rather like a commander from on high, rather than as a pilot at the helm. You select targets and waypoints by clicking icons and menu selections, and using your ship's equipment and abilities requires an appreciation of positioning and power management, rather than aiming and accuracy. Other important concepts to grasp are progression and how EVE players deal with item loss. Experience is earned in real time, whether you're logged into the game or not, and is continually invested in specific skills. Death is also something you have to come to terms with, specifically both how and when it can occur. Death is by no means a constant threat, nor is it permanent, but the loss of a ship and its equipment can be. And it's these dangers and consequences that make EVE such a uniquely thrilling game.
Waypoint reached.
Being a space game set in a vast universe occupied by thousands of players, many of your gameplay options will be familiar. You can mine ores, trade goods, take on missions for faction loyalty and space credits, explore the universe, and of course, fight with or against other players. These basic activities, however, only occupy the lowest branches of EVE's career tree, and you'll soon appreciate, especially if you sign up with career agents after the initial tutorial, just how extensive your options are when it comes to finding your place in the EVE universe. Later on, if you ever feel lost as to what to do, the agency, via the top icon of your neocom, is a veritable treasure trove of missions, events, and activities local to your current position.
Autopilot disabled.
Ultimately, whether you have found out what it is you want to focus on in EVE or not, you'll soon realise that you should perhaps be doing it with other players. EVEOnline is a multiplayer game, and New Eden is a massive universe, and if you want to survive, and hopefully thrive, it's much easier and more rewarding with friends at your back. Maybe not right away, but soon it'll be time to seek some out. Good luck. One of the most common pieces of advice you'll hear from EVEOnline players is not to fly a spaceship that can't easily be replaced. This might seem obvious given that every ship in the game that shares a name is identical, but what you might not appreciate yet is that what makes it effective and often expensive is entirely down to what you equip it with. Knowledge of EVE's ship fitting tool is integral to understanding this, because it doesn't just let you drag and drop equipment onto your ship. It's actually a powerful reference and simulation tool that helps you to appreciate just how unique each ship can be, regardless of whether you can afford to fly it or not. With dozens of evolving roles, hundreds of ships, many thousands of modules, and countless tactical scenarios to consider, it's tempting to want to pursue the career of a station-bound Alliance overlord.
Approach, lock, orbit, destroy.
However, you only need to be effective in one or two value-packed ships to make it as a pilot, and the cheaper and more effective you are, the more impressive your exploits will become. Let's look at fitting out a basic tackler, a ship to help pin down an enemy vessel so that heavy-hitting allies can take it apart. We'll get to the center circle shortly. First, let's look at the side panels. On the right are your attributes, a summary of your ship's capabilities that is updated as you equip it. It's especially useful as you can drill down into each category to get a detailed overview of your ship as it evolves. If you hit the simulation mode button, you can play with your currently selected ship without affecting the current setup, and you can even save your simulated fitting if you want to try it out for real later. There's even a convenient, though potentially expensive, buy this package now option at the bottom right of the panel. Which brings us to the left-hand side, which, if you were paying attention in the previous video, is practically identical to the market browser, in that you can search for ships and modules and have fun slotting them together, regardless, courtesy of simulation mode, of whether you have the cash or skills to use them. Just use the filters to limit what's displayed by ship, skills, slots, which we'll get to in just a moment, or even browse any fittings endorsed by your corporation. You can even import and export ship fittings from popular EVE community sites, forums, and even chat messages. Before you start dragging equipment over from your hangar or buying expensive modules off the market, know that there are limits on what you can attach to your vessel based on classification and size, and the number and type of slots it has. Then there's something called stacking, which penalises pilots who choose to put as many of a certain module on their vessel as possible, despite the rapidly diminishing, but often worthwhile, returns for doing so. CPU and power grid are your next considerations. Like the peripherals plugged into a PC, some modules draw on power and some on its processor, often to wild and varying degrees. The art of ship fitting therefore comes down to maximising both, while investing skill points and space bucks in more effective and efficient modules for better ships, such as for so-called faction or Tech 2 variants. Back to the fitting ring, where you'll notice there are 4 types of module slots surrounding your ship. High slots are where you drag and drop your weapons, but also allow for various passive-aggressive modules such as combat logistics units. Mid or medium slots tend to be for shields, propulsion, electronic warfare and capacitor, while low slots are more structural and where armor mods and damage modifiers are fitted. You'll know where a module should go because when you select it, one of the slot banks will highlight. However, if you don't have the CPU or power grid to activate it, you will be duly notified. Finally, we have rig slots, which, unlike regular modules, cannot be removed once installed. However, for a replaceable tackler, such as we've just created, rigs are unnecessary. Once we've fitted our modules, we need to load up our consumables, ammunition for turrets, missiles, probes and the like, which are dragged and dropped onto the module itself. If you need to reload or change different types of ammo while on patrol, dump it in your cargo hold. Drones, if your ship has one, go in the drone bay. It's useful to think of EVE's ship fitting screen as a puzzle game, and like all good puzzles, there are many solutions to discover. There are standard fittings that your corp buddies will suggest you start with, and you'll be told not to mix weapon types or tanks, but it pays to find things out for yourself. It all comes down to what you want to achieve, what resources you have to call upon, and who you expect to fly with or against, by which time you'll have a pretty good idea of what you can and can't afford to lose. Because know this, you will lose it sooner or later. It's all part of the fun of EVEOnline. Becoming a hotshot EVEOnline financier might not be for everyone, but the primary tool for interacting with the game's economy, the regional market interface, certainly is. Whether you need a new weapon for your ship or plan on decimating your enemy's bottom line, knowledge of the market can reap huge dividends. You can bring up the regional market window via the Neocom or by pressing Alt-R. If you know what you're looking for, a neutron blaster for example, simply type in the search window and it'll hopefully be available close by. Alternatively, you can browse through the item categories until you find what you need. Selecting listed items will bring up all the active buy or sell orders, listed in order of price. You can also arrange it by jumps, which is the distance you'll have to travel to collect your purchases, the quantity available, and the time until an order expires. You can get more information such as how prices compare to the regional average by double-clicking the order. In addition, you can right-click to ensure you're not being sold goods from dangerous locations. If you're satisfied, enter the required quantity and hit buy. Congratulations, you now know enough about the market to net a bargain, and as soon as you've browsed enough market orders, you'll quickly develop a trader's sense of what sells where and for how much. There are, though, some useful options to consider that'll reduce the number of hasty acquisitions born of poor judgment. Clicking on the icon in the top right of the details panel, you may want to exclude all orders from potentially dangerous low-sec systems, or you can limit them by, say, those that are proportionately below the average asking price. Just mouse over the filter options to see how they work. If your desired item isn't available for a price that's worth your while, click Place Buy Order and set your own parameters. If a sell order is then posted that fulfills them, the system will process the sale on your behalf. Before spamming the market with cheap orders, it's worth remembering that the number you can have active is limited, as is the distance over which you can automatically trade. Luckily, there are skill books to increase the range, volume, and frequency at which you can buy and sell, and others to reduce the fees and taxes the New Eden market skims for every transaction. As we have an extra trade skill book in our item hanger, let's put it up for sale. Unfortunately, we're in a solar system close to career agents. There's no shortage of them on the market. Since it didn't cost us anything, however, we can afford to undercut everyone, even the NPC vendors. All we have to do is right-click on the item in our inventory and select Sell this item. Once you enter a price, the system will tell you how it compares to the regional average and the length of time the item will stay on sale. Hit sell and wait for the money to roll in. That's pretty much the basics covered. Taking things a stage further and becoming a dedicated trader will require you to level up your trade skills, practice safe navigation, find established markets, and to keep one eye on the news and the other on the competition. For now, though, there's nothing stopping you getting what you want from anywhere across New Eden. Assuming the price is right, of course. Due to its freestyle sandbox nature, trust is among the most important resources in EVEOnline, which is why the best ships in the game are friendships.
Warp drive active.
In this video, we're going to show you 4 great ways to hook up with like-minded people in EVEOnline. But how do you even begin to make friends in a game that's defined as much by ruthless competition as close cooperation? Well, as with all friendships, a little conversation can go a long way.
Scanning the hive now.
A good place to start is with players you might already know. Go to the People and Places icon on your Neocom, select Character as the search type, and enter a name. If an acquaintance appears in the results, right-click, select Send Message, and see what comes back. Even if you don't know the person behind the player, Eve mails are a great way to introduce yourself. When it comes to making new friends, public chat channels are where you most need to be. As a new player, you should have 3 open by default: Local, Corp, and Rookie Help. The Corp channel is the best for striking up a conversation, since it's where you're guaranteed to find other new players, as well as veterans, many of whom will be relatively close by. Yes, you may attract the attention of thieves and aggressors, but posting an offer or request for combat or logistical assistance